Mxolisi Nxasana.
Well, yes, just in a few minutes from now, we'll be hearing from the former head of the NPA and just getting to grips why he decided to come to the Constitutional Court to have some sort of condemnation. Remember that when he tried to submit his affidavit to the High Court, which eventually found that he acted recklessly, he wasn't given an opportunity to make a submission to the High Court. But now they've come to the Constitutional Court to make that condemnation, and that has been made right now. And here's Advocate Mxolisi Nxasana, who joins me now. I'm going to start over again from what we were speaking about earlier on. Just quickly, the reasons why you've decided that your version of events must be heard.
Yes, no, the reason it was very important that my version of events must be heard, because the version that was put up by the former president was wrong, and any suggestion that I left the NPA voluntarily, it's wrong, and then people should understand the background that led to the president and myself entering into a settlement agreement. I think that was very critical. It was very important.
And also, just listening to your counsel, Ms. Leroux, painting a very bleak picture of what you were facing at the time. Also speaking about how your attorney's office was attacked and broken into and files disappeared.
Yeah, that was a very strange thing to happen. Especially, one is not making any suggestion about it, but it's very strange, and it was a coincidence that my files went missing at my attorney's offices. That is, after I had pointed out that I have correspondence in my file in my office, in my attorney's office, to prove that I did not make a request to leave NPA. I found that very strange, but one cannot pinpoint at what really happened. But the fact of the matter is, soon after that happened, the president was confident, the former president was confident enough to put up an affidavit making these false claims.
And this affidavits, of course, as we heard from your counsel, were not shared with you. Why do you think you were under so much pressure?
Yeah, I mean, again, you have just touched on a very important point, because I was then assured by Mr. Hali, the former president's attorney, that there was, at the time when they approached me, a draft affidavit by the president, where he made it very clear that I did not make a request. And he then made an undertaking to share the draft with me before they filed it. But that did not happen. He did not share that draft with me. And what then happened is, I was called by a journalist who then told me that the president has filed the affidavit. And in his affidavit, he claimed that I made a request to leave, which they knew very well that it was false, and Mr. Hali knew very well that that was false, and that is not what he had told me. In short, Mr. Hali misled me, but when I then approached my attorneys, that's when I found out that the file had gone missing. One can just put one-on-one as to what had really happened. But I say it was just a coincidence that the file went missing, and the president, on the other hand, then filed the affidavit where he claims that I made a request to leave. And Mr. Hali, after I'd made an undertaking to share the draft affidavit with me, and he did not do that. And that was saying that is very strange. But unbeknown to them, that I had kept my duplicate files, and I had to retrieve them and share them with the applicants, because I wanted the truth to come out.
Very important, though, in this matter as well, and the criticism that also came from the High Court saying that it means that Nxasana comes at a certain price. There were inferences drawn today as well that the reason that you accepted the 17.3 million rand, and CASAC also saying that it had amounted to a bribe. Why did you accept the money, knowing very well that you will be leaving the NPA under what Justice Kachalia called to the wolves?
No, but really, remember that my counsel did very well. I mean, she explained that very well. I mean, even in my affidavit, I think that is the reason why you are here in this court, why you are challenging the decision of the North Gauteng High Court, because had they accepted my affidavit, really they wouldn't have come to that conclusion. Because in my affidavit, I explained clearly what was going on in my mind. That was not a bribe. Remember that the amount of money that was paid to me was the amount equivalent to the balance of the period that I was going to serve. Therefore, we didn't suck the money. That is not a bribe. I felt at the time when we entered into a settlement agreement, remember there were many things that were going on. There was a threat of the Commission of Inquiry. There was litigation where I had taken the former president to court, and that settlement agreement, we entered into it as a way of resolving all those other issues. And my view is, when I took the money, I did not take the money as a bribe. It was a settlement of all the things that were going on. And my concern also was about the integrity of the NPA, which was what I was trying to realize I was concerned about, because I think it doesn't look good for the head of the NPA to be litigating against, the highest office in the land and all the things that were going on.
Yeah, the person who appointed you, why do you think you were under so much pressure?
Well, really, I don't know, unless I speculate, I was told that he was scared that they had influenced him. They told him that I was busy reviewing his case and I wanted to prosecute him, and he got scared. But he later on, when I met him, ultimately confirmed that.
That he was scared? No,
he confirmed that. In fact, he confirmed that I was meeting with the former NPA head, which was the first NPA head, Mr. Ngcuka, and which was also not the truth. And he got scared and he didn't even want to talk to me. That was unfortunate.
Well, certainly unfortunate, but quite important, though, about today's case is whether, as your counsel has said, by default, the remedy would be that you be reinstated to the position that you've previously held. How soon would you like to be back in office?
Well, I can tell you, my brother, I miss NPA. I miss working for the NPA. I had good people there. I still have good people there at NPA who are prepared to work. I have been getting a lot of messages of support from NPA staff who have wished me well on this date, and they say they can't wait to see me coming back at NPA. And that should say a lot about the type of work that I was doing at NPA.
But what do you say to someone who says that what if Mxolisi Nxasana finds himself under pressure again? Will he succumb to the pressure? Will he leave the NPA to, quote-unquote, again, the wolves?
Not really. We learn by mistakes. I think what I was saying also in the affidavit is that I was under the impression that we're settling the matter outside the parameters of the NPA Act, because of the litigation that was going on and the inquiry and everything that was going on there. But then after I had received legal opinion, I accepted it, and I now know that that is not the right way of doing things.
And you'll confidently walk through the doors of the NPA?
Yes, I had to, because that's one thing. To say that why didn't you stand your ground? As my counsel had put it, I did everything, in fact, to stand my ground. I did everything. I appointed the Commission of Inquiry headed by the Justice Yaqub. I did everything. I challenged the former president in the High Court. I did almost everything that I thought I could do. But then if there was no willingness from the highest office as well as the minister to come to the party, unfortunately, I was the one then who was the victim or the target in all of this. And well, I take the point that perhaps I should have done what Justice Kashala says, but it didn't come to my mind at that time. I thought I'd exhausted everything.
Okay, well, thank you so much. There you have it from Advocate Nxasana. Quite importantly is what happens now going forward, but also another crucial part of this case is the case that has been brought by Kesek just towards the end of an argument as to the announcement being made of whether former President Jacob Zuma will be prosecuted. You'd remember that earlier this week, on Monday actually, the NPA's head, Shaun Abrahams, did indicate that he has made a final decision. He wrote to Kesek saying that he will adhere to the 2 weeks notice that they've asked for and agreed with Kesek, but says that he could make the announcement of that decision any moment before the 15th of March. And now Kesek is saying that that announcement should wait up until this court comes to a judgment. Speaking to the NPA spokesperson earlier on, Luvuyo Mfako, he said that the NPA will wait for the direction of the court, even before the judgment is made, the direction of the court on whether Shaun Abrahams should hold back in making the public announcement on whether the NPA will prosecute former President Jacob Zuma or not. It's back to you in studio.
Aldrin, thanks very much indeed. So it's been a long day at the Constitutional Court today, and that was the first time, I think, for quite a while that we've been able to get Mxolisi Nxasana, who was, of course, the man who was given a handshake, 17 million rand by the president to move out of office, and after an interim NDPP, Shaun Abrahams came into the position, which he's had for the last 3 years. And he's been giving his side of the story. He felt that his side of the story hadn't really been ventilated properly, and the interactions that he had with the president, he said that it wasn't fully told. And he even accused or made allegations that Advocate Hali, who was representing the president, may have put forward documents or a version that might not have been entirely true, which is quite a serious allegation.
And it's interesting, his response on the 17.3 million rand golden handshake, saying that amount is actually equal to the balance he thinks is owed to him if he had continued his service. And he does have duplicate copies of what he says was stolen during that much talked about burglary.
Yeah, there's duplicate files.
So it's interesting to see how it's all going to play out.
Yeah, indeed. All right.